Here, and thanks for joining us on Khandaan Podcast. We promised you we would review Dabangg 3, but as we will get into during the show, that didn't happen. But since none of us are named Rahul, we aren't cheaters, so we decided to give you a much longer and bigger show for this episode of the best of the Khan decade. On this episode, we'll be also reviewing Rajnikant's Darbar, Deepika Padukone's Chapak, and Netflix's Ghost Stories, as well as discussing some trailers for Malang and Street Dancer 3D, ABCD4, whatever that movie is called. To make it something truly special, we asked some of our friends to join us and asked also our listeners to take a survey on the different categories we split the last decade in. I want to thank all of our friends that sent us a voice note. They're all much smarter and much, much nicer than us. We'll be adding all of their details in the show notes so you can follow their work. Also, thank you to all of our listeners that filled in our Best of the Khan Decade survey. We still have some movie merch to give away from War, Mardani 2, and Dabangg 3. So if you leave us a review on Apple Podcast and shoot us a note either on Twitter or youpodcasting@gmail.com, we can definitely hook you up. Or, of course, you could just do it out of the goodness of your heart, which would be even more amazing. I did have some audio issues during recording on my side of the Skype recording. I tried to fix it as much as I could, but apologies, it's annoying me that I couldn't fix all of it. But it's just a little bit, and it's usually when I'm talking, so you can skip that easily. But all my co-hosts are there, and it's a great and really fun show. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's start the show. Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan Podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Aamir Khan, Salman Khan and Shahrukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Happy New Year to all our listeners. Merry Christmas to all our listeners. Did we miss any? Happy Hanukkah?
Yes.
Also, happy... I remember back when we were growing up, we didn't have Christmas, so my dad used to say, just let's celebrate Quaid-e-Azam's birthday. It's on 25th of December. So, happy Quaid-e-Azam's birthday for the Pakistanis. I think we covered it all now. We're back.
And for those who are not religious, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah.
But yeah, they already seem like far gone, like it's already 12 days past, so it even feels weird. I think we were supposed to come back and talk about Dabangg 3 when we recorded last time, but you all bailed on me. Nikamme dono.
I think Asim is the only one who was willing to stand up for Bhai and be counted, and one by one Sujoy and I were just no thank you.
Yeah.
I think we kind of held back when we were discussing the trailer, saying we will be talking about all the Dabangs and when the actual movie comes out, and it got shat upon completely when the movie reviews came out, and we kind of backtracked and they're nope, not watching this.
Yeah. I mean, it was it physically hurt me, that movie. So again, I was the only one that watched it. I was so sad. Really physically, I was hurt in my heart of hearts. And the whole idea of going back and watching the other Dabangs, it retroactively makes those movies look bad. So that's how bad Dabangg 3 is. It's and the worst part, it's not even just bad, it's just so careless filmmaking. I put in these screenshots in the trailer itself. There's this scene where it harkens back to the first Dabangg where he kicks in a warehouse door and there's a fight scene starting, right? And you see him punch a door and you see the mark of his fist in, and then when the door flies open, he's holding his other fist. So the indentation of the fist is the right hand and he's holding up his left hand. And it's these kind of bonkers things that I'm Salman, man, what is up with that? Like
nobody gives a continuity anymore.
Yeah, and I understand that Salman has always been this like, I'll just do my thing and it'll work for the fans, but like, this was the movie that even fans were only talking about the box office. So if you're only talking about the box office and not how good the movie is or whatever, it's just disappointing. I was watching what's that guy, Komal Nahata, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He's the trade analyst. He was saying that it made 150 crores, which is abysmal for a Salman Khan movie. And it still made more than Bharat, I think. So, yeah. Also, timing-wise, I think a cop movie, I think a lot of people, even that were like okay with like Salman doing Salman or like Dabangg, the things that are happening in India at the moment, you maybe don't want to go watch a cop movie, right? So, it's a tough one. Yeah, it's weird for Khandaan. Like I'm gonna actively tell you not to watch this Dabangg 3. Maybe I don't know who it can appeal to. Not even kids. It's terrible.
Asim is gonna get called an Aki fan all over again. All the Salman fans are gonna come for him.
Go pack your bags and go to Canada.
It's at moments like these, like, I was just thinking, because this came right, like 2 days or something into the protests that are right now sort of engulfing India. And I always think, like, what is it going to be like once Salim Khan passes away? Because that Salman has something to say about this. He's not, like everyone says, Salman is so dumb. He's like, he's like the dumbest of the Khans, like blah, blah, blah. But he does have opinions. It's not like he's completely empty-headed. And that it's Salim Khan who's like exercising this really strict control over Salman. And that's why he doesn't say anything. So like once Salim Khan passes on, I'm just very interested to see how Salman would react in times like these.
Did you read that blind that was kind of floating around, how the Khans are helping on the background?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
no, I didn't.
Like it was a blind. So again, I don't know anything. It's just like random rumors. But apparently all of the three Khans are helping the people that have gotten locked up, and they're getting lawyers for them, and then arranging medical treatment and stuff like that. But they don't want to come out and make like a public statement because of all of the times they have made a public statement and it's gone terribly wrong for them. So I did read this blind, and maybe it is just my fandom hoping the best that they are actually maybe doing something on the background to give them a bit more of a benefit of the doubt than they deserve, maybe. But it did kind of warm my heart that if they are doing it, that's kind of cool. Yeah. I'll try to post the blind so people at least know that I'm not just making this up. This is not my fandom just making things up, So I think let's get back to movies. I think that's our forte more than any. Yeah. So what did we watch? Sujoy, you probably watched the most things recently, right?
Yeah, I went to Chapak and also the Rajnikant movie Darbar, which was another cop movie, and it was terrible. But Chapak wasn't.
Okay, so Darbar, let's start maybe with that one quickly, right? Like,
okay.
I've never gotten Rajni fandom. I'm not part of the fandom. I didn't grow up with it. So I've tried to understand it, and I don't. So I've kind of given up on it. Did you grow up with like Rajnikant movies or not?
Like in India, even if you are far removed from South India, and even when internet culture was not a thing and meme culture wasn't a thing, you would still get trickle down effect of, you would see Rajni doing all those stunts in 90s Hindi movies even, and you would know that was a big deal somewhere else. And you would get some sort of, subtitled movies on Sunday afternoons, and I got to see Billa and I think that Talapati as well. And Rajnikant was a big deal, but probably not for the neighborhood or the society where I grew up in. But as you get educated, you do know how big the fandom is. And now when you go and see movies with South Indian audiences at the cinema, it's not a movie going experience. It's like sitting down to watch a rock concert or something, because that's what the active response is. It's a 4D experience where people are actively taking pictures of the scenes that's happening on screen and posting instantly on Instagram. It's not a movie anymore.
Yeah, I don't get it. And this one was not good, because every time I've watched one, people always say, "Oh no, but this is not a good one. You should watch this other one." And so I don't know which mythical movie that is that I need to watch. Apparently, it's something in the 80s or the 90s. But how was this for you, Darbar?
It wasn't good, even by standards that Murugadoss has set for himself. This was kind of like a rehash of a movie that he has done before. Like, what was that Vijay movie? I think it was Tupakki, maybe, which was remade into an Akshay movie. And it felt like a rehash of that. And it had kind of the similar beats, but even by that, like the first half, when it sets up this whole villain and even the backstory of this hero, it was trying to create this mistake, and just the build-up was so intense that it didn't really pay off, and they really didn't use the strengths of Sunil Shetty, of how it was built to be this really mythical, dangerous character. The payoff didn't really work. And so the second half completely shits on the entire movie. And yeah, it didn't work for me. And also I had definitely problems with the worldview of this movie. Cops being super powerful and doing whatever the fuck they want, and the public should support that blindly. No. Okay. It's a no for me.
And on that note, let's just note that, the Rohit Shetty cop universe is coming to fruition this year.
Yeah.
Which, it's the mother of all bad timings, right? For Ranveer and Rohit Shetty. But like the teaser for that bullshit came out again, like 2 days into the protests. I just remember like being like, it wasn't even like I was angry or I was upset. It was just disbelief. Like what PR firm worth even like 5 rupees in fees looks at what's happening in the country and goes, what would come out really well right now if we just turned out this teaser, like turning these cops into mythological heroes. Like, what?
It's a tricky situation for PR firms right now in the country to navigate through what is happening in the real world and trying to also promote projects that have been in the works for a while, and what was prevalent to go on the floors a couple of years ago, thinking like, national sentiment and nationalism will sell, and now what's happening in the country, especially like even Ajay Devgan had to voice an opinion.
I saw him have to tap dancing on Twitter, but this and that, and what is happening, we don't know, we are reading the newspaper, we will see. How's Tanaji doing? Like, did you see Tanaji?
I didn't know.
It's doing well. It also seems to be getting good reviews. So I think I just need to in the last maybe since the UK election, let's say that I've kind of changed my views about things. I think basically us liberals, left-leaning people, we've lost. So we need to find a way to accept that Suryavanshi, I think it's called Suryavanshi, right? The Rohit Shetty movie. It's going to make a ton of money. It's just going to happen. There's no stopping it. I think why Dabangg didn't work because people were busy with the issues that were happening in India were just very, very hot at that moment. And I also think because Salman Khan fandom is also based on a lot of Muslims, I would say there's always this kind of he has this fan following, and maybe he's not coming out and kind of giving his opinion. People didn't support it. Really bad timing. I think Suryavanshi, when it comes out, things will have quiet down. And I think just the audience is just so conservative and right wing. Just looking at the numbers, and I feel it very heartening when there's voices kind of coming up and protesting, and it's the only thing we have, right? We have our voice. So we need to keep expressing ourselves and keep saying things that are not, aren't right. But I also think these guys will keep winning. And that makes me sad. It's going to be
it is. Like we, before the elections or whatever, we had this hope, and it really hurts when hope crumbles, and we see that, these people won by a definite margin. Modi won by a huge margin. Boris Johnson here won by a huge margin.
Trump is going to win with a huge margin.
Please.
It is. I mean, that's where I'm at mentally. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. It's retrospectively, I am training myself now to be less hopeful and more cynical. But also at the same time, I hope that more and more people grow their conscience and stop supporting fascism in any way possible, be it in art or be it in real life.
निर्भया केस के बाद मालती की कहानी लोगों तक पहुंचाना और भी जरूरी हो गया है। मालती की पीआईएल के वजह से काफी चर्चित हुआ है ना एसिड का मुद्दा।
कहाँ है मालती?
मालती जी, आप अपना चेहरा दिखाएंगी ताकि पब्लिक को इस हिंसा की गहराई दिख सके।
इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट कि मालती अब सिर्फ अपना नया चेहरा देखे सर्जरी के बाद।
So the second movie you watched was Chapak, right? And
yes,
the big thing that happened is that Deepika, the one and only major star, came out to support the students at GNU just before her movie came out, like 2 days before.
And she is the producer of the movie as well.
Yeah, and you would think that, and I saw it on my echo chamber timeline, a lot of people saying, we're going to go watch Chapak to support what Deepika is doing. Chapak is not doing well at the box office whatsoever. So that's kind of my thing, right? Like we.
But I don't think Chapak was designed to do like mainstream cinema business. Like it's a story about an acid attack survivor. I think the amount of business it's doing right now is basically on track for a film of that budget and of that subject.
I hope so. I hope that was the thinking. I don't know. I would assume they would want, at least the money that a Sonam movie or a
Razi made.
Yeah, Razi or a Kangana movie made, something like that. But I don't. I mean, it just came out Friday, so I'm just, also it's very hard to gauge from Twitter exactly what's going on. There's also a lot of very conservative voices that are vehemently
trying to push it down,
exactly,
and almost at the level of belittling the concept of the movie or belittling this movie for existing even.
Exactly.
Which I find really disturbing for movie critics and critics of art as such, to have that inherently, I don't know, a very hateful kind of a vibe to them in how they write. It's annoying, but anyway.
Yeah. So how was the movie?
Like commercial perspective and all of that aside, the movie itself is really moving. It's very, very touching, and what I watched the review by Sucharita on FilmCompanion, and what she says is spot on about women telling women stories, and this movie told by and written by Meghna Gulzar, and it's a true story of a real acid attack survivor, and Deepika plays the protagonist, and it's very heartfelt in the way that it's not a story about an extraordinary girl who had this really ambitious, outlook on life, and she was going to do things, and how that got crippled. It's just a simple, ordinary girl from a humble background who had this little ambition to maybe someday be a singer, in the 90s or the late 2000s, where Indian Idol was on the rise, and we all had that small town dream of making it big. But we don't get to see much of her ambition, because it's not about that. It's about how this little girl and how her life completely gets taken over by this one incident, and everybody else gets to move on from that. Everybody else is living on with their lives, but she is reliving that and the aftermath of that through everything that she does, from trying to get employment, from trying to navigate through the various court cases, and even her family problems and all of that. And it's told from a very emotionally charged and human storytelling level. It's amazing. It's really, really well done.
Wow, good to hear. Because I've not heard too many even positive news about it, so it's kind of good to I don't even have an intention to watch it like in theaters. I wasn't going to go to theaters to watch it. I was going to watch it at home. But yeah, it does kind of. You do want to support her, right? Like if she's stepping out, even beside how you agree or don't agree, it's just so courageous for her to do this, right? That I think hopefully that we can agree on.
And also it does things differently. Like a story like this, you would you would think it's about the story of an underdog, and it would be told in a certain way, but it does not melodramatize or trivialize that particular aspect of the story by giving drama beats and unnecessarily, amping up the background score or whatever. It's told in a very, it's told as it is, and that's the beauty of this story.
Yeah, I think like what really struck me about Sucharita's review is that she made a special point of like mentioning how this movie isn't focused on turning it into a revenge drama. Like it's not, and that's basically one of the ways that Hindi cinema dumps, stories like these, it dumps it down by saying like, हाँ इसके साथ ही बुरा हुआ, now she has become Ma Kali, and now she's like, Nari Durga ka roop hai, like, that kind of stuff. And in this movie is like more about like, how does a woman navigate a system, and like, who is this person that did it to her? He's not like some sort of evil genius who's like sitting at home and like making dark plans. He's just the guy that lives down the street. Like the banality of the evil that happens to her and like how she has to deal with it. Like I thought that was really interesting, and I do intend to watch it in the theaters. I'll watch it sometime next week, I think.
But it's also like with these stories, you often people like Anupama Chopra's reviews said she did not like it as much because there is no sense of closure or some sort of a win, because it at the end of it, it's not about winning, because nobody wins in this movie, even when the bad guy is punished, but she is still living with a life that is completely changed, and she had no choice in that.
Yeah.
It's not a story of heroism or triumph, because nobody gets to win. It's just a story of survival.
Right. Yeah, no, it looks good. I mean, it looks. I'm just so cool for Deepika to, take on this project, produce it herself. I don't know if there's even songs in the movie or something like that, but it's definitely not promoted that way, right?
I mean, there are a couple of songs, and the music is by Shankar Ehsaan Loy. But I think some of the songs are not as good, but the title track is completely haunting, and the lyrics are written by Gulzar Saab, and the title track has this line called "Chapak se pehchan le gaya," which says so much in so little. It's haunting.
What else did we watch? I watched
Ghost Stories.
Yeah. Did any of you guys watch Ghost Stories? Or you watched a few episodes, right?
I have watched nothing.
You have watched nothing. Amrita is just here to give sly commentary. She has not contributed in any way to this episode.
Very true.
Yeah.
I watched the Zoya Akhtar one.
Yeah.
I think I watched the Anurag Kashyap one. I watched half of Dibakar's, and I watched none of Karan Johar's.
So this is kind of like the third movie, although they're almost making it like the second movie, because these are two that came out through Netflix. So you had Lust Stories, and then you have Ghost Stories now, and then before that you had is it Bombay Talkies, right? That the first one that they made, but that's been quite a few years, and so it seems to be like Netflix has forgotten there was another one that came out before, but this seems to be more like a anthology series that they're trying to do. So it's like you mentioned, it's Zoya Akhtar, Anurag Kashyap, Dibakar Banerjee, and Karan Johar, and they all have like 20-30 minutes. I did find it funny that Karan Johar's was the longest one out of all of them, and it was the only one that had actually a song in it. He cannot break from his format. I just thought that was so Karan Johar.
And wasn't it the brightest and the most, it looked the most expensive one as well out of the four?
Yeah, everybody looked hot, man. Like everybody looked hot in the Karan Johar one. Even the granny looked hot. It's like I've never been a fan of anthologies. Like it's never been my thing, and it started back it's always been around, but I think Quentin Tarantino kind of had this thing in the 90s where there were a lot of these getting made, and then that idea of those guys that were in film school then, those filmmakers are now making movies, and it's still kind of part of us. Like Iñárritu made Amores Perros and all that. There was a lot of these coming out for a certain time. Even didn't Sanjay Gupta also do like?
Das Kahaniyan.
Yeah, there were a lot of these, like, and also like 4 different stories, and then they intersect. Like in Yuva, that was also a thing, right? So I've never been a fan of these because it never knocks it out of the park. All 4 stories are never good. It's always like 1.5 is good, maybe 2 are good, and the rest is kind of like TK, So, and I think that's kind of the problem I also had with Ghost Stories. I also feel, in a way, it's been promoted as horror stories, but ghost stories are not horror stories. And actually, the title is correct. But it's almost like these, ghost stories we tell at a campfire, oh, the hook was always on the door, that kind of, like those kind of stories, like to scare children. And I was watching the interview. It looks like Zoya Akhtar and Karan Johar are not even fans of horror movies at all, and it really shows. Yeah. It really shows in this the kind of thing that they did. Let's just break the stories one by one quickly. We won't go into spoilers too much, I guess. I did love the animated intro that they did. It's like very kind of like gothic. I also found it interesting that none of the stories have names. They just have the name of the person that made it. So the first one is just Zoya, and it's not like any name or something like that. So the first one is Zoya Akhtar. It's about Janhvi Kapoor, who has she's kind of a nurse coming in to help out this old lady who's bedridden. I don't even want to say. And then creepy shit happens, right? That's how I can explain it without explaining it too much. Did you watch this one or not?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think?
I think out of the ones that I've seen, with like Zoya, Anurag, and half of Dibakar, I think I like Zoya's best.
Yeah,
it's the most atmospheric, and Surekha Sikri, who plays the who plays the old lady who's bedridden, she is fantastic, and Janhvi actually was really good as well. Yeah. And the whole because it was contained within a particular set or environment, it really played out the strengths of that setting very well.
Yeah, clearly, from all of these new actresses that have come out, Janhvi is the best one. Like, I said it when Dhadak was coming out, and now I'm like 100% sure. There's nobody going to be as good as her.
You know what? I just want to know, like, where does she get that voice and that accent? Like, it's immediately unique. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Like,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Like all the other Nepo kids, like when they speak, they all sound like they all came out of like this one little mold in South Bombay. And then Janhvi starts speaking and you're like, who is this?
And in this one, she definitely worked with a vocal coach and changed her accent. Right, Sujoy? She does...
Yeah, she does sound very... I don't know what's the word, Tapori?
Yeah, like you can see that she's like in the movie she's like an orphan and she's like raised with nothing, and she has inflections in her language that Anana Pandey could never do. Like like clearly.
Anana Pandey.
I'm evolving. I'm trying to get there. Yeah.
Oh, poor Noni. But I'm just very intrigued by Janhvi, like her whole persona. Like even in interviews, I'm really intrigued by her.
Yeah.
The things that she says, the way she says them, I'm just like, who are you and where did you come from? I just don't get it.
We also have Muin from Gully Boy, who's playing kind of the toxic boyfriend in this, and they have like a scene where she breaks down on the telephone, and it's so well done. She's a star, man. This movie is kind of like an artsy gothic version of Bhagwan. It's it does speak to our desi angst of having to take care of our elders and not doing a good job of it. It also has a very cool Stanley Kubrick's reference at the end. So, it's good. The Kashyap one is weird, man. It's really, really weird. Did you watch that one, Sujoy?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I don't know. It has Shobita in it, Dhulipali. I think that's how you pronounce her name, right? Dhulipali?
Yeah.
Dhulipala. Yeah. I think she's amazing in everything, but this has like proper gore in it. It's quite like there's a few shots are quite disturbing. I think this one, if you are scared of kind of gore, this one gets into it a little bit. I do think it has some interesting themes. It's about kind of losing a child and the effects it has on women and postnatal depression. So yeah, this one was crazy. But what I was shocked about is how, when you think about Marvel movies, right? Like, especially the later phases, the second phase and the third phase, they all have a similar color palette. They have a similar look they agreed upon. But this one, the four directors did not agree upon one color palette and one look, and just going from Zoya to Anurag Kashyap is so jarring, because Zoya has kind of a very gothic yellow reddish hue in her movie, and Anurag has a very muted dark blue kind of almost black and white kind of thing, and it just seems like, wow, you're jumping from one movie to the other, and it's very, very jarring. Did you see this one, Sujoy?
Yeah, I did. As you said, it's very it's a different like monochrome look, very desaturated and almost black and white, but you can see some colors somewhere. And I think it just wanted to highlight those blacks when the reveal happens, and also how blood looks black, in this. Yeah. So yeah,
quite.
And it kind of reminded me of. It had some hints of The Omen.
Yeah.
In it with the little kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And Karan Johar also kind of dipped into that pool later on. It's I'm like, wow. Also, like, Shobita is quite fearless as a performer, and it shows in this one. Dibakar Banerjee is the next one, aka the director I've never gotten. I never understand him. I don't like, people love him. I do not get it at all whatsoever. And
people equals me.
Sorry.
People equals me.
Yeah, and me.
Yeah,
yeah.
He made kind of like a zombie kind of movie. I think it's kind of like a zombie movie. It's with some kid performance in it, and the kids are really, really good. But the creature design is so terrible. It's so tacky. It looks so bad. And the main bad guy is kind of Gulshan Devyani, I think his name is.
Gulshan Devyani,
yeah, that one. This one again didn't work for me at all. He's playing kind of like the big bad in Delhi 6. I don't know if you remember the Delhi 6 thing, the Kala Bandar. I think that's what they're going for. I don't know. I think, Amrita, you might like this one the most. If you watch Ghost Stories, let me know. This is just... without any shade. I'm not giving any shade, but I think there's like a political allegory in it that I think might appeal to you. So, yeah. Did you watch this one, Sujoy?
I watched half of it and I had to leave to watch 1917 last night, but I'll probably continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have Karan Johar, which funnily, after Zoya, is my favorite filmmaker after Zoya. It's and everybody immediately looks amazing in the movie. Like, it's again such a jarring jump after the previous three. Also, the girl from Behansplaining is in there, which is such a Karan Johar move. And she's like totally channeling Pooh, Bebo from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, yeah. He also has clearly watched Crazy Rich Asians, so he's definitely putting a shot in there. Karan Johar is so funny, man. He also has a moment where there's like female sexuality immediately gets punished, which is also a very Karan Johar thing. It's kind of cool, but then it becomes like there's a sequence with the servants. And the whole movie just loses the plot completely. It loses the tone. It becomes totally hilarious. Like it's a total miss. But I really like the actors in it. I really liked. I really should start to learn how to pronounce people's names, right?
It's got the guy from Laila Majnu.
Yeah, I think and again, how do I pronounce his name? M and an R U. Brunal? How do you pronounce that? Put some consonants to each other that I can pronounce.
It's like Bollywood found out that Asim was butchering like even straight up names. So they're like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
We will send you some names.
Yeah, I'm going to have two consonants after each other. How do you pronounce it? Is it Brunal? You guys have heard this name. How do you pronounce it? Yeah,
Brunal. Yeah.
Mr. Unal.
Yeah, the guy is Avinash Tiwari. That I can pronounce. See?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool that he like clearly these guys are very talented. They've done some good work, and I think working with Karan Johar is kind of maybe will give them a signal boost. So Karan Johar makes everybody look so good. But the movie is frankly ridiculous. Like, it's like he has no idea what he's doing in the sun.
And the four stories don't have any connect, right?
Yeah, it's not like the granny was the granny of the other person and they intersect on a bridge or, something like that happens. I think it is kind of cool that you can dip in and watch one movie, one of the segments, or watch the segment that you are most interested in. And they are I would think they are aligned with the people that are making this, So if you would get Karan Johar to make a horror movie, this is the horror movie you would get, right? It makes total sense. So in that way, it's good. I don't think
No, sorry, go ahead.
I still don't think Netflix has a good acquisition strategy on what they're producing, and
they're just happy to collaborate with these four big shot Bollywood filmmakers.
Yeah.
I think at this point,
yeah,
and there is no other ace name who is willing to make content for Netflix. I think whoever has collaborated with Balaji will stick with their streaming platform, and Amazon has their own thing, and Netflix is just happy to have these four big names with them.
Yeah. But I just watched Irishman just before I watched Ghost Stories, right? And that is such an awesome movie. I don't want to compare these four to Martin Scorsese. I mean, that's totally unfair. But in the way that Irishman would never be able to be made and released on cinema because it's just too expensive and people will not go and watch this movie. I mean, I think it cost 200 million to make that movie, right? And I don't think ghost stories would either also not work, but at least it would not work in a theatrical setting. But it's also not. It's also not a movie that necessarily needed to be made. It feels that they have this contract to make a few of these anthologies. And it's kind of a paycheck for them, and that's just sad because I want to watch a full-fledged Karan Johar movie. I know I'm getting one next year, and I'm sure you guys want to watch another Dibakar Banerjee movie whenever he releases one. So that's kind of a shame that it almost feels like when Farah Khan is judging talent shows. Like, I want to watch a Farah Khan movie. I don't want to watch her be a judge of, Gande Gande Bachche singing songs, So that kind of annoys me.
No, I mean, we've had this conversation before about like how nobody in India seems to know what to do with streaming, I think like there's like a very few people who've actually been able to use the medium to good effect. Like there's Made in Heaven, there's The Family Man, and then I can't really think of anything else.
Sacred Games had a good start, but then that fizzled out too, I guess, right?
Yeah.
We're still not there yet. Let's see what Abhishek does with Breathe. That could be a good thing.
Or the new Kabir Khan series that's coming up. We'll see how that plans out.
Which I watched the first episode, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. Forgotten Army, because I'm still under embargo. But I will be talking about it on the next episode, so tune in for that.
But before we wrap on ghost stories, I would just like to point out for people who really enjoy horror, there is another Ghost Stories. It is a 2017 film based on a stage play that played out in the West End in 2010, I think. It stars Martin Freeman, and that's not exactly an anthology. It's 4 separate stories, but it comes together in the end, and it's fantastic. It's one of the best. I don't know if it's on Netflix. It might be. But it's one of the best British horror movies of the last decade. It's amazing.
Also, Netflix is coming out with an adaptation of the graphic novel Lock and Key. And the trailer looks awesome. So you should check that out also. And also, if you are interested in Chapak, or you're interested in that sort of, in movies that sort of talk about the same kind of thing, then on Netflix, there's a movie, a Malayalam movie called Uire. And that's
the Parvati movie, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. And that's a really good film as well. And you could watch that.
You know how I was going to pronounce that? Ayuri. Because I saw it on Prime or Netflix, and I added it to my list, and in my mind it was Ayuri. So I'm so glad you pronounce it first. Now at least I know.
Yeah, it's called Uire.
Okay, good. I think we wanted to talk also about some of the roundtables that happened, but I feel that it's too long now. Like it's that time has passed. I do want to quickly talk about some of the trailers that came out. Amrita, you really like Malang, right? That's the one you want to.
तुझे पता है हम तीनों एक जैसे हैं, सारे किलर्स, लेकिन तुम लोगों को किसी को मारने में मजा नहीं आता. मेरे लिए जान लेना मेरा नशा है.
You bought your tickets already?
Like, कीड़े पड़े. What is that trailer? Like, what is the point? It's like what is that movie? Ek Villain? Is that the movie? The one with Siddharth and Shraddha? It's like it invented a genre for people who can't act. Like, good on screen. Like, we will do this one thing.
Imagine when, not imagine, but it's just funny to think of when Ek Villain came out and Ritesh Deshmukh was hot property once again.
Like the only thing that makes me even slightly interested in Malang is the fact that there's Anil Kapoor in it. So I'm I don't know, if it comes on streaming, I might give it a watch if I'm in the mood for Anil Kapoor, which is a very specific mood. But apart from that, no, I'm not interested. But also they gave away the twist at the end, right? In the trailer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What the fuck?
What was the point?
But I think there's no point to the movie, so it doesn't matter that you give away the twist, right? And they're going for kind of a very Drive kind of twist. I know you guys didn't watch it, but it's a very similar.
I watched.
Oh, you watched it? Okay.
Come on, Asim. I am quite cultured.
I do
But
think.
also,
Go ahead.
sorry, I did see somebody post like a link to some song from Malang, and they were just like, "Oh, what a melodious song!" I think it was like one of those trade analyst people, so they were just like bigging it up. And I clicked on it, and it started playing, and in like 5 seconds, I was out. I was like, I have heard this song in pretty much like. Who is that? What is his face? Mohit Suri. Yeah, I've heard this song in like every single Mohit Suri film ever made, and I can't sit through it again. Like I can't do it.
But it's interesting, like Mohit Suri directing a Love Ranjan production and all these people associated with it. It's weird. But I actually like the soundtrack that plays during the trailer, though. It's kind of like a club techno beat.
Yeah,
I actually like it. Yeah.
And this is produced by T-Series, right? So I think they want to push the music more than the movie itself in a way. Like the soundtrack should be good, or at least meaning should be good, should get clicks, right? Like that's what we're talking about. So I agree with you.
I think at the end of this, I think Kunal Khemu will turn out to be the Ritesh Deshmukh of this movie.
But also, like, I bet there'll be I didn't know it was a T-Series film, but I bet there will be a Nora Fateh song with like
humping the floor.
Humping the floor while like Anil Kapoor like leers at her.
Which I'm all for. As many Nora Fatehi songs they release, I'm in it. I'm all for it.
Did you? I don't think we talked about the songs of Street Dancer, did we?
Hi, Garmi.
Yeah.
Wait, is it Street Dancer? I thought it was ABCD 3D. Is it Street Dancer?
It's called Street Dancer 3.
Yeah.
Why? When did Street Dancer 1 and 2 come out?
No, it's ABCD, but it's now called Street Dancer. But they kept like, because it's the third installment of ABCD, there's like 3.
Is it the third one? I didn't know. Wait.
Let's not try to make sense with T-Series and Remo D'Souza.
I thought only one came out. Were there 2 ABCDs?
No, there were 2 ABCDs. There was the first one with like a no-name cast, and then it became a success. And then they put Varun in it, and that became like
right. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
This is the third one.
So what should we avoid there?
Did you see the one with Varun and Nora?
No, Garmi, I think it's called. Right?
Yeah. I Garmi. It's not really Varun's forte, I will say. Like he lives in that 90s sort of cheapness, which is sort of like, digestible. Whereas like this is like a very 21st century kind of cheapness song. Yeah. And like literally everybody on Twitter was like, kill it with fire. Like we don't want it. Varun isn't made for like songs like this, poor thing.
Because I did see the other song that he has with Shraddha Kapoor. I think it's called Illegal Weapon or something like that. Yeah, Illegal Weapon 2.0, which I don't understand.
I that.
But is Shraddha considered a good dancer now? Is this a thing?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That is a thing.
Okay, I didn't understand. Like, I'm too old for these dances anyway. I don't understand him, but I did used to break dance in my youth, so there is some connect there. But
did you see the Muqabla remix?
Yes, I hated that. I hated that because Prabhudeva is almost 50, right?
Yes.
And 50-year Prabhudeva dancing is still better than everybody else's dancing. And it's annoying because... So what I was going to say about Illegal Weapon, that song, So Shraddha is dancing like a excited hamster for like the first part of the song, and then Varun comes and starts dancing, and he does that street dancing dance. But there's a moment he becomes Govinda. Like he does this slow movement where he's just doing it, and I was like, that's the Varun we want. We want the Govinda Varun. Do not do this other Chichora Varun that he's doing. But I worry about Varun because I feel he's kind of lost the plot a little bit. I think Ranveer has shaken him. He was like, Varun was doing really well until Badlapur, and something happened, and he's shaken, and he can't find his footing back. I think he's picked a lot of wrong projects. Kalang didn't work, and now I fear for whatever this movie is called, Street Dancer or ABCD3. It's definitely not my bag, and it's looking terrible, to be honest. I don't know. Are either of you? I mean, I didn't even watch the first one, so are you guys even interested in this?
I will watch this.
Yeah.
I will definitely watch this at the cinema.
Yeah.
Friday first show.
Yeah.
Sujoy ने अपना झंडा फहरा दिया.
I am a sucker for dance reality shows.
You are the one that watches that crap.
I follow a lot of dance show, YouTube channels, and I watch the Dance Plus on Star Plus and everything. So I'll go. Yeah, I'll go and watch this.
I was wondering why you constantly send me these videos of of Lolo dancing, and now at least I know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Oh God. I come back to Malang. I will be watching that movie though. Because it's basically Gajni for Instagrammers, and I'm kind of warming up to Disha Patni, I must say. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, like Har Manli. I just have to accept, that these actors are the actors we're going to be getting. So Janvi first, Disha Patni number 2. That's my current ranking as it stands. Naya Naya Panda down below. Yeah, I also like that they clearly watched Atomic Blonde, and I think ye chai. Like, let's put the bit of Atomic Blonde into Malang. So yeah, I'm in for it. Cool. Let's move on to our main segment. I think we wanted to do a little bit of a catch up this episode. We didn't really watch like a movie all together because it was just not possible. So we thought we'd do our best of the Khan decade. So again, I want to explain the rules because we asked a few of our friends to chip in, give us their thoughts. So a few of the previous guests we've had on, and they were very nice to send them some voice clips, and we're going to be playing them here. And we also ran a poll and asked people what they thought about it. But neither our guests' opinions or the poll opinion count. We're just talking about our opinions, right? That's how we're going to be doing it?
Yeah. Because you democracy.
Yeah. Democracy is anyway. It doesn't matter anyway. So we're just going to be running. So we wanted to do things slightly differently, and we kind of created these new categories that we thought about. So we have most overrated Khan movie, most underrated Khan effort, best song, best co-star, best production, best worst Khan trope of the decade, the worst pairing, most shameless pandering, best movie, best soundtrack, best director, best special appearance, and who won the decade. So those are the kind of categories we're running. And let's go with first. Let's start with the most overrated Khan movie. I think that could be a good one. In the poll, we had... Yeah, most people said Dabangg on this one, it seems like. Sujoy, man, what is for you the most overrated Khan movie?
I think, I don't know if people do consider this as Aamir's movie, but Delhi Belly is... like Aamir is associated with the project, and he's got sort of an extended cameo. And for me, Delhi Belly is an overrated movie. I just feel like people talk about it a lot as a groundbreaking and how it tried to emulate the whole Guy Ritchie sort of naughty boys trying to navigate through gangsters and everything in a Delhi setting. And it's not as smart as it tries to be, and people do think like Delhi Belly worked for them a lot and keep on raving about it, and it didn't work for me, and so I call it overrated now.
Amrita, what is your vote here?
So I was also one of those idiots that, like sort of thought a little bit outside the box. So I actually chose like one for each Khan, and then I have like an overall one.
Works for me. Democracy doesn't work anyway, so let's go for it.
So for Shahrukh, I had My Name is Khan. For Aamir, I had Dhobi Ghat. I think we've had like an entire episode discussing why.
Yeah.
And then for Salman, I actually chose Sultan.
Wow.
But yeah, like way out of the box. But but I think like overall, it's My Name is Khan. Like people keep talking about that movie, like, Karan Johar and Shahrukh just, defeated racism. And I'm just like, no, like that was a really terrible movie. It was racist as all get out. I don't get it. Like, I don't get why people love that movie so much.
Did they also have like an Obama lookalike in that or something like that? That was,
Yeah. They did. It wasn't as bad as that fake Bill Gates that they got in what was it? Was it that Prabhas movie? What was it? Like one of those movies. Sujoy, you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, can't remember.
Saho?
But was it Saho? Like the fake Bill Gates that was like sitting in the...
No, wasn't that an Arjun Kapoor movie? Wasn't that like...
Was it Arjun Kapoor movie? But you guys know what
Half
I'm
Girlfriend.
talking about.
Is it not Half Girlfriend? Or
It's a Half Girlfriend. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the Obama in My Name is Khan wasn't as bad as that, but it was still like pretty bad.
Yeah. It's I liked My Name is Khan when it came out because I just felt at that moment that sentiment really struck a chord with me. Just that feeling that just because you're a Khan, you're not a terrorist, and it's just something that really appealed to me. But yeah, that movie is so problematic, and it's something I've not wanted to revisit since then, because even my positive impression of it, I don't want to go back and sully it. I do go watch the songs because I love Kajol and Shahrukh's chemistry, and it's something that they weren't able to recreate in Dilwale for sure. So, Sultan, odd pick for overrated. I genuinely like that movie. You don't like that movie?
No, it's fine, but I just feel like it gets a lot of credit where, like, I mean, it's a well-made movie, but I honestly don't see, like, why it gets as much bhav as it does.
I think for me, Sultan works because it's the most non-bhai performance of the decade. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole hero image is deconstructed, and Salman is in pot belly, looking at himself, an aged version of himself, and he's breaking down, and that whole the bodyguards and the kicks and everything is pushed to the side. And was it Ali Abbas Zafar or was it Kabir Khan?
Yeah, it was Ali Abbas Zafar.
Yeah, I think he knows how to work that out of Salman Khan, and he did it well. That's why it works.
I've heard this before, and like I get what you're all saying, but for me, like it just feels like it's like the least thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
bare minimum Salman.
Yeah, it's like he did that much acting, and everybody's like, "Wow, bhai ne kya kiya yaar?" Like it's like. But it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie or anything. Yeah. I just feel like it's overrated is what I mean.
But of course, there was this whole controversy as well about when Sultan was about to release, about, all the comments that he made about how wrestling made him feel and all of that.
Yeah. That and all.
Yeah. And
that is like typical Salman, Like when the filter comes off and Salim Khan isn't around with like a thing to be like, chop.
It was the point where even Anushka distanced herself from the movie. That was like the most hilarious part. I was like, no, I never got to hang with Salman. I don't really know him. That's hilarious. And I think they were originally thinking of casting Kangana in that. So,
oh my God. Can you imagine like Kangana and Salman working together?
Yeah. Apparently they were on that reality show he does, what's Big Brother it's called, right?
Big Boss.
She came,
Big Boss, yeah.
Yeah, she came to promote Panga, and apparently it didn't go well. I don't watch that show, but I saw it in one of the blinds that Pitu recommended, and I am hooked on it like heroin. So it's I read it's there.
I saw the trailer of Panga, by the way, and Kangana should just act in the movies and not exist anywhere else. Like her off-screen persona is so annoying, and she does shine on the screen. It's just I want to see her movies. That's it.
Yeah. So I saw the trailer. So I follow Neena Gupta on Instagram, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Wow, this sounds like a movie that I'd like to watch." And then Neena Gupta uploaded like this video of Kangana that Kangana made for what joy? I don't know. But in which like Kangana is sitting there talking about like, how Hindi is our Rashtra Bhasha.
Yeah. She's promoting Hindi Divas and all that.
And I'm just like, shut the f up, bitch. Like, what the hell? Like, I was this close to watching your film, and now you're sitting there like, like regurgitating BJP lines. Like, shut up. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. But anyway, coming back to the Khans.
Yeah, coming back to my pick of most overrated Khan movie, for me it's Chennai Express. I do not like Rohit Shetty movies at all, like just generally. This made a ton of money. I actually interviewed Shahrukh and Deepika for this one, and I don't know, I think they were like, also there was a lot of controversy about this movie, right? When it came out, about how the portrayal was of people in South India and where there's no train going. So there were a lot of issues, and I think Deepika did run away with the movie. She was clearly the best part of it. But if you have one of the most, successful producer directors out there, and he's coming together with the biggest star, I just expect more from the movie. And this movie did not deliver to me at all. It was not funny to me. It didn't. The songs weren't that great. Which usually when you have Deepika and Shahrukh, you have some good music. And Chennai Express didn't even have that.
But my question is, like, did anybody rate Chennai Express to begin with?
I think they did. No. 100% people do. Like there's a lot of like, this is the movie that a lot of times people bring up about that it's quite good. Like, I've had this discussion many times, so I know people rate this movie quite high, beside the box office. Probably, I've even heard people say this is the best Rohit Shetty movie, which is not saying much. But I'm just saying that...
Yeah, I would still consider this one of the best Rohit Shetty movies.
Yeah, that is true, actually.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which says a lot about his other movies, I mean.
Yeah.
So, for me, that's Chennai Express.
Okay.
Most underrated Khan movie. And I think we have a voice clip for this one.
Hi guys, Mike McCahill here from The Guardian. The performance I wanted to single out for you, the one that's really stayed with me over the past couple of years, is perhaps the closest any of the Khans have come to putting in a literal supporting performance, which is to say Shahrukh Khan as Dr. Khan in Dear Zindagi. I remember being initiated into the cult of SRK some 15 or so years ago with Main Hoon Na, and thinking, this guy could play anything, action hero, class clown, even at a stretch a college student. I don't think I'd have believed if you'd told me that he would convincingly play a psychiatrist, some repository of life wisdom. But then we've all done a lot of living and growing since then. And this role in particular struck me as symbolic of a shift in all three Khans' careers, that they started the decade somewhere close to the top of their profession, and at their best they came to realise that one of the most powerful things they can do with the power that they've accrued over the past 30 years is to use it to support other people, women in particular, be that Salman raising the young girl high on his shoulders and forming this implausibly brawny one-man bridge between India and Pakistan in Bajrangi Bhaijaan, or Aamir ceding centre stage to India's daughters in Dangal and Secret Superstar. The shots I remember of Shahrukh in Dear Zindagi are of the those of the Doctor doing nothing more than listening to the Alia character. They're the complete opposite of the frantic action that was going on in Fan and whatever was going on in Jab Harry Met Sejal. And they do suggest that ego management is going to be an interesting way forward for all three Khans in the years ahead. They also struck me as illustrative of a decade in which men, both in the film industry and in the wider world, have been encouraged to talk less and listen more. Now, as the decade closed out and the new decade begins, it's clear there's still some ways to go on that front. I'm going to do my bit now by shutting up and allowing you to debate this proposition. But this did strike me as an example of a star leading from the front simply by getting behind somebody else in the most positive and constructive of senses. Anyway, Happy New Year, guys. Here's to the next decade.
Hi, this is Suchin, just another regular Hindi cinema junkie with a whole bunch of opinions nobody asked for. And I'm a film journalist for FilmCompanion. For me, with the most underrated Khan performance of the last decade, there are two things that jump to mind. The first is Aamir Khan from Thugs of Hindustan. I know it's an unpopular choice and everyone said it's the worst movie ever made, but I really didn't mind it. It wasn't great, but it was better than what most people said. But more importantly, I thought Aamir Khan had such a blast with the role. He was having so much fun and he was so much fun to watch. It was just such a enjoyable. He was trying to do his whole Desi Jack Sparrow thing, and I had a blast watching him specifically more than the movie. So I thought it really deserved a lot more love. And the other one is, everyone has opinions on Shahrukh Khan, right? Everyone seems to know what the best Shahrukh Khan is, whether it's the Chakde guy or the romance guy. But for me, what he did in Diya Zindagis, it remains the best Shahrukh Khan of the last decade. And the best use of him. And really, everyone he just looks like the guy who has so much wisdom and support and all kinds of wise words. And I think what Gauri Shinde did she did a fantastic job of capitalizing on that side of him. And it worked so much better than all the other stuff he's tried with his last few films.
So most underrated Khan effort. Amrita, you want to go first?
Okay, so for Shahrukh, I said Fan. For Aamir, I said Talash. And for Salman, I said Ek Tha Tiger. Now, Fan and Talash, I know a lot of people will talk about, but I just want to talk about Ek Tha Tiger. Because, and as we were just talking, we were talking about Martin Scorsese a second ago. Now, a lot of people talk about this, why don't we have a Martin Scorsese? Why don't we have a Christopher Nolan in India and all that kind of stuff, which is an inherently stupid question to ask because we have, and I don't mean this in a derogatory, okay, actually I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do mean it like that. Because we have an inherently different film system. Because in the States, if you look at how Scorsese came up, he went to film school, first of all, and then he made shorts in film school. And then there was a whole culture of shorts going to film festivals and it becoming people actually watching the shorts and then giving people work based off that. And then them making he came of age in the 70s. In the 70s, American cinema, it wasn't mainstream cinema. So he was getting funding for movies that would not be considered potentially blockbuster hits. So he was able to get funding for that. He was able to cast good actors for that. He didn't have to cast five from out of 5 big stars, and he could still get financing for it. And then he made movies Mean Streets and stuff, and movies that were shocking to the American psyche when they came out. And and he built his reputation bit by bit to the point where he is today. He didn't overnight come out and start making films with the equivalent of Aamir Khan or whatever. And nobody expected him to do that either. Whereas in India, it's a very different ecosystem. You don't do things like that. And one of the things that's always bothered me, and I've always wondered, is why don't we make more genre films? Mm-hmm. There's apart from say the Ramsays and back in the day Wadia movie tones, there's very few there are very few studios in not just the Bombay film industry, but around the country that really invest in genre films. And I think that's such a waste of potential because you can just, they're you can make them on a shoestring budget. And they generally work really well. Like if you look at movies that have come out in the past few years, there's that the Drishyam remake. What is it? The one with Ajay Devgan.
Drishyam. It's called Drishyam.
Oh, is it Drishyam?
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't even bother changing the name. They just
so there's like that movie, and then there's like a Wednesday, and like very classic like beats, or like Baby, like like very classic beats, and like very like this is going in like what this movie is going to be, what the beats of the movie are going to be, and it's comforting to the movie audiences, and it's enjoyable when it's made well. And I don't understand why more of these movies aren't made. And I kind of like give a shout out to Salman and to YRF for making Ek Tha Tiger, and Kabir Khan, of course. And Kabir Khan actually is like one of those rare filmmakers who's like come into filmmaking with a bit of experience at his back. Like he used to make documentary movies and stuff, and he's very comfortable, like, with narrative storytelling. And you can kind of see that in his films, even when they're pieces of shit like Tube Light. So, yeah, like I'm gonna give Ek Tha Tiger a shout out for all these reasons.
Yeah, it's a good pick, and it's one of the movies that I like it a lot. I revisit that movie a lot, and I also think it's because both Kabir Khan and Ali Abbas Zafar have a great friendship apparently with Katrina Kaif, and I think both of them have done an amazing job with portraying her in these movies. And I think you see a lot of times people asking for a Zoya spin-off, and I think it's justified because she's been placed this way in the Tiger movies that that character can spin off into a solo mission or a prequel kind of setup. And I think Katrina has that presence, and she has that physicality that she brings, that she could actually pull it off. I think Ek Tha Tiger was kind of the start of it, and I think the second one took that a bit further. So yeah, no, good pick there. Sujoy, what did you have?
I had Fan, and I love that movie, and we have already talked about it in a full episode length podcast. But everything to do with Fan, man. It's so underrated. It's so like Shahrukh is at his A game, and he is in the zone playing the Grey character, and also the parallel between the star and the fan, and how the lives interchange, and how he is playing those two on separate levels. It's amazing. Obviously, it has a lot of flaws as well, and why it didn't work, we have already discussed that at length. But yeah, Fan.
Yeah. I think the public also agrees with you. It's the one that got the most votes and the most mentioned. People did talk about Fan a lot. And I agree. We did a whole podcast about it. I understand. I think also I think there was also a lot of heartbreak for Shahrukh that didn't connect with the audiences. So that's kind of sad. But we also have a voicemail from our friend Pitu from Kapow, with Pitu agreeing with you, Sujoy. So here goes.
I would say the most underrated effort would be Fan starring Shahrukh, because I think anyone who's a Bollywood fan can relate to the notion of being a massive fan of someone. And I just thought that the movie had a lot of heart. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was a pretty decent effort. And I thought that the title song was just so adorable.
My picks are, I'm actually on board with Suchin. It's Thugs of Hindustan. And it is. And the second one...
We had a dinner with Raja Sen when he was in London, and we were talking about Thugs of Hindustan and how he hated it. And me and Asim looked at each other and say, we actually liked it. And Raja was like, did we watch the same movie?
Yeah. That's how fearless I am about my choices. I will go to one of the most prominent film critic voices and I will tell them in their face that I like Thugs of Hindustan.
Yeah, me and Asim watched this together at the cinema, and like 10-15 minutes in, and we had already like read some of the negative reviews that were coming out of the movie, and it was like, I don't get the hate.
Yeah.
This is so Manmohan Desai, and we love it,
Yeah. And I think when we did the podcast about it, we had Sunny Singh on, who was a great guest, and she also saw those same connects with the old school kind of Amar Akbar Anthony kind of, even Dharamveer kind of setup that they were kind of going for. I think they definitely tried to achieve that, and they failed miserably. It did not connect whatsoever with the audience. I think one of the problems is that you could clearly see the problems that what the filmmakers wanted to do and what the production house wanted to do. So definitely they wanted to build this up as kind of a Pirates of the Caribbean series. And I think one of the problems narratively that they had is they shifted the focus of the story from the main female character to Aamir Khan. And I think that's also the problem that happened with the Pirate of the Caribbean movie, where the first movie, you had a little bit of Jack Sparrow and it became all Jack Sparrow later on. And I think because Thugs of the Hindustan is 3 hours, this happens within the movie, that the shift happens from the Fatima Sheikh character to Aamir's character, and he just dominates the movie, which is also kind of maybe the problem with Aamir Khan movies in general. And that definitely didn't work. But it has Suraya in it, so I mean, come on, it's a good movie, and I can see that it had good elements in it. Like almost, I can see with My Name Is Khan, it has good elements in it, but it needs like a decent trimming and just like a reshuffle of what they wanted to achieve with it. The second movie I also feel is underrated. I'm not 100% sure, so I will kind of put this as a second one. Rais. I thought
about it. Yeah, I thought about Rais.
Because we all were quite positive when we talked about it, right? And
I like Rais.
Yeah, and I think fan people agree that it's underrated, but I think Rais people don't even talk about that anymore. And it's a shame because I think it's 70-80% a really good movie. And it's a shame that both of them happened one after the other. And I know Rais, they were kind of making that for a long time, right? They was kind of in production for a while. And I think, Shahrukh kind of quit this year. And I think these two movies back to back not working and him really trying to do something different didn't work. I think it also had the problem that it starred Mahira Khan, which, time-wise at that time, they were kind of getting rid of Pakistani actors. I thought she was amazing and she could have had a great career like Fawad Khan in Bollywood, but unfortunately that was not meant to be. And Zalima is also a really good song in it. So, and Udi Udi Jai, I don't know if you like it, just like suddenly pops up on my playlist, and it's a bop, man. I like that song. I really like that song.
Yeah.
Also, for all the people who wonder why the Khans don't say anything, this movie was in production right after Shahrukh did say something. Yeah. And when he was shooting in Gujarat, which is Modi land, people came and threw stones at his car. Yeah. So, just FYI, just a little anecdote for you to mull over.
Yeah. And I think Salman even got into trouble also when Dil Diya Galla was sung by Atif Aslam. Even there was controversy about that back then, and he was like, people should sing wherever they want to sing, and that statement was he had to disappear for a while for that. So
which is funny because nobody said anything to Ajay Devgan when he had Rahat Fateh Ali Khan singing in his film. So it was like
Rush Ke Kamar and all of that. And I think it's funny to look back at the decade and all the hate that has come on that platform with artists like Sonu Nigam and Abhijit and Shan now. It's funny how artists, you would think artists would have a better worldview because they see art and beauty in different ways and beyond borders and race and religion and all that. But no, it doesn't work that way sometimes.
Yeah. Let's head over to maybe best song. I think I'm reshuffling the categories. I shouldn't have, but let's go with that one. I think we can do this quite quickly. I think there's no consensus whatsoever. Everybody has picked totally different songs. Somebody even put.
FYI, people put Lungi Dance on it as the best song of Khan.
Yeah, I even am seeing Ishq Kameena. I don't know who voted for this, but they're definitely not understanding the rules of how this should be working. Or maybe because these are Aishwarya Rai fans who live in their own world. Now I get it. It took me a while. Sorry about that. What any picks that you guys have? We probably don't have one pick. We have a few that are kind of popping up.
Yeah, but I think the first one that comes to my mind is Jag Ghumeya from Sultan.
Same.
Hey, Asim, Sujoy, and Amrita, wishing you the best for 2020. My gosh, it's all very exciting. This, of course, is Ashanti Omkar from the BBC Asian Network. And obviously, I love the Khandaan and I love the podcast. It's lovely to be able to send you some bits for the kind of decade roundup. And I have to say, you know, because I have had a chance really to work with all of the three Khans in that decade gone past, I feel like there's so much that they've all done. I kind of looked at Asim's list and thought, wow, there is a lot that I want to say. So I'm going to break this down into two portions because I want to tell you about my kind of best song, best music section, and I also want to tell you about best movie. So here's what I feel is the best kind of song, the best music, what actually captivated me during the decade gone by. Now, the complete Jab Tak Hey John album for me was beautiful. The whole background score. Rahman did hit the ball out of the park working with Yash Chopra. Rest in peace, I should say, because I remember them shooting in London and being at that same hotel that he was doing all his meetings at and kind of waving at him. Yash Chopra is obviously an icon and he did so much for cinema and for creating the brand Bollywood and what it still is even today. Now, those kind of stumptuous vocals, the voices who rule the decade, like Shreya Ghoshal, Shakti Gopalan, who's from the South. Then you have Javed Ali, Mohit Chauhan, and Canadian pop talent Raghav. They were all part of this one soundtrack. Challa, Saaz, Here, GRA, these were all great songs. So for me, that was one that I completely loved. Of course, nobody is surprised that I've picked an A.R. Rahman soundtrack as my favorite. The next one for me is Sultan from 2016, Vishal Shekhar. One song in particular, which was Jag Ghumeya, which completely blew my mind for its simplicity, yet it was so evocative as a song. And Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, I happened to work with him in 2016 when this song was blowing up. And I worked with him on his show at the O2. And I remember, you know, taking him to various places like the BBC and the Guardian, and we were at the AEG live offices where people like the Reuters came to interview him. And I remember just towards the end of it all, I was like, oh, Rahat, I'd love to hear you singing this. So he just kind of sat on a chair in the reception at the AEG group offices and sang this song. My gosh, I will never forget that moment. I think it is a song that is brilliant. And that film itself, Sultan, was one of those outings for Salman Khan that really worked so beautifully. And I actually loved the video. It had lots of cheese in it. And it just took me back to those days of pure Bollywood. In terms of sheer entertainment, I have to say it's Aamir Khan's item number in Delhi Belly. That was 2011. Ram Sampath did the music. And I happened to have worked on that film because I'd worked with Aamir Khan during that time and worked on the London Indian Film Festival where we premiered Delhi Belly as a world premiere. And this completely surprised me when it came out. I have to say, we had a press screening a week before the film came out. I completely didn't expect it and was completely blown away by the fact that there's a whole role reversal here for this kind of genre of music video. You know, you don't see a man doing it. It had the kind of sounds of disco days, that pure pot boiler Bollywood time. And it was so kind of irreverent. And the fact that Aamir Khan, who was flying so high at that time, was able to do something like this and kind of just turn the tables on the genre. And that really worked for me. So those were my kind of musical picks for the decade gone by.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful song, and I can't believe it. This was composed by Vishal Shekhar. Like,
right? चोरी का नहीं है. Yeah, I have Jag Ghumeya from Sultan. I have Bhari Naina. No, I have Bhari Naina from Ravan. Like nobody talks about, like obviously nobody talks about Ravan anymore. But like it was a good album, yeah.
Yeah, I will be talking about it later on.
Tum thero, Amrita. Ravan aa raha.
But also Talash, like Muskane Jhooti Hai, like that's one of my favorites. Like these are songs that are on my phone. Like
in my library, like my song library. I'll listen to them pretty much every day anyway.
So we had quite a few different picks here. I really like somebody who put in Banjara, which I really like, from Ekta Tiger. Actually, it's a really good song. Gerua, Get Some Love, which I think is deserved. It's beautiful when that came out. Mera Naam Tu from Zero is really, really good. I really like that song too. I went with Suraya. Not for the song, but for the choreography. I still don't think people get the amazingness of this song, and you are all crazy for not getting it.
I mean, your own daughter said that it was not good.
Yeah, so. My own daughter did say it was not good.
I actually do like Suraya's choreography. Like, it's terrible, but like Katrina makes it work. It's one of the... Well, I'll talk about Katrina later. But,
And the other one I have that I actually not mentioned whatsoever, and it's the one I've played the most on my phone when working out, is the Sultan theme song.
Yeah. The title track just is so also
good.
Great.
Like, it is almost on par with Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky soundtrack, you know? It's built up the same way. It starts slow, and then they put in like a sound effect of a Formula 1 car in there. And it just, in the gym, it jams you up. Whoever, like, we're January, a lot of people are working out again and all that kind of thing, you know, for at least, 2 weeks, and then they quit. But in those 2 weeks, guys, download the theme song of Sultan, put it on loop, and I swear to God, you will be doing 5 more push-ups. You'll be adding 1 more plate on your deadlift, and it's nobody talks about it. It's a good song. Sultan, that's the Sultan theme song. That's my pick here.
Yeah.
Let's go with which was your favorite Khan pairing with a co-star? And I think our friends from Bollywood is for Lovers send us a nice little video clip on it. Will I play now?
Hi, this is Erin Fraser.
And Matt Bose from Bollywood is for Lovers.
When I look back at the filmography of the Khans over the past decade, there is one actress who sticks out to me among all of their co-stars. She's made films with all 3 of them, and I think in all of those performances, she's either kind of perfectly matched or complemented them. She has great chemistry with all 3 of them, or in some cases, I think she's completely outstaged them.
I think she just makes the movie better whenever she's in it.
Yeah. That actress is, of course, Katrina Kaif. People who know Matt and I know that we love Katrina Kaif, and I think she's given some of her best performances this decade in her films with the Khans.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and she's shown the great range of versatility that she has in these films. So just going through it, we have Ek the Tiger,
great
wonderful
movie.
film.
Yeah.
Jab Tak Hai Jaan, Doom 3. So right there you have Salman Khan, Shahrukh Khan, and Aamir Khan.
Pretty solid entries from each of them.
Yeah, you have the sequel to Ek the Tiger, Tigers in the High. You have Thugs of Hindustan, which I think we like more than most people do.
Yeah. She's a highlight for sure.
And she's a huge highlight in it. Zero, which is terrible. That is a terrible film. She is the best part of it.
Her and the monkey?
No. And watching her parts in that film, I think people really started to come around to Kaif with that performance and see kind of that she has a bigger range than she's been getting credit for years. And then most recently, Bharat.
Mm-hmm.
What do you love about Katrina Kaif in all these films, Matt?
I just like seeing her on screen.
Yeah.
She's very pretty and funny.
Yeah, but she's the MVP.
She works well for all of them.
Best co-star for the Khans.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, so guys, that was our friends. I totally agree with their pick. Katrina Kaif is amazing. And I also agree that she's what do I say about Katrina, man? She's amazing. And I think she works well with all of the Khans. I think Jab Tak Hai Jaan, unfortunately, it's not what it could have been as a movie. But I do still have again, that was another movie that people hate, but I still have a warm spot for it because that Katrina Church is like 5 minutes away from my house. So every time we drive around it, we call it the Katrina Church, the Church of Saint Katrina. So for me, yeah, she's definitely my favorite best co-star. I also have Bebo in here. Because she elevates wherever she is, like Bajrangi Bhaijaan, she has a small role, but she makes so much out of it. PK, she has, Three Idiots, she has a small role, but she leaves such an impression in it. Ravan, again, small side role, but, what was that Akon song?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Chalo,
man. Yeah, oh my God, man. Like, she's so good
The
at
red
that.
sari.
The red sari and the other one with the white dress she's wearing, it's like, wow, man, Bebo. But I want to give a shout out to this is a typical Asim pick, is because the name is so close. But Asim in Reddy. It's a terrible movie. I hate Reddy. But she is the only one that is able to stand up to Salman. And that requires, skill as an actor. And I think she's an equal part of that movie. And I think I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Asim because she's not acting anymore. Nobody talks about her anymore. Nobody talks about Reddy anymore. But I think she was great in that movie. Sujoy, man, what did you pick as the best co-star for the Khans in the past decade?
I mean, Katrina starred alongside all three of them, and Anushka as well. And Deepika is the only one who... Deepika hasn't starred alongside Salman, has she?
No, and Aamir neither, no?
No, I can't remember. But anyway, my pick is Shahrukh and Kajol because you just can't recreate that. It's just, in My Name is Khan, not on a Dilwale.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, what?
Yeah. Even when like Shahrukh is playing what Shahrukh is playing in My Name is Khan, like they're them too. They just are fire on screen, man.
Yeah.
It just There is no word to explain how the two come together on screen. It's beautiful.
Amrita, what did you pick?
Okay, shocker, but I'm gonna go with Katrina.
Ooh.
Just because, I feel like it's not like she's suddenly learned acting over the past 10 years, but she's, like we've spoken about this before, like she has that star quality and she does, like she has like a certain, and like when you hire Katrina Kaif for your movie, you know that she's going to work all out on it. Yeah. Like even when she can't really do what it is that the role demands, like in Jab Tak Hai Jaan, she will do her very best. Like there's never been like a half-assed performance by Katrina. You know, like even her worst critic can't say that she doesn't work hard. Yeah. And I have come to really appreciate that. So it's not really based on anything other than my personal feelings, but I really like Katrina.
No, but even in terms of the Khans, she ran away with Zero, she ran away with Bharat, right? She's the best part of Thugs of Hindustan. So it's not a minor thing, like again, you're standing against the Khans. They're the reason people are coming to the cinema, and you're running away with the movie. So that's kind of cool. In our poll, we also had, which was a cute pick, Munni in Bajrangi Bhaijaan, which I think is actually probably the best pick out of all of us because she is clearly the best co-star. I gotta also give a shout out to Sonakshi. I'm probably the last Sonakshi kind of fan around, I think, because, and this is true, we're talking about the last decade and she's done, 3 Dabangs and they've been vastly successful, and I think the first Dabang we can all agree she was great in, and I think we were all quite impressed when her debut happened. Yeah, so those are the picks. So yeah, I think Katrina wins it pretty much. This doesn't happen a lot. So yeah, let's move on to what was the worst pairing of this was funny because all of the votes went whoever starred with Salman. That's basically what people voted for. So we have Salman and Sonam, Salman and Sai Manjrekar, Salman and Sonam again. It's all Salman and Jacqueline, Salman and Sonakshi.
Salman and Daisy. Salman
and Daisy. So it's everybody that Salman starred with in the last decade is in there. The other one was Aamir.
But that kind of highlights the point that in Salman Khan, the female pair doesn't really matter, does it? It's not about that. It's kind of indispensable to the story.
No, I don't agree with that, man. I think if like Katrina, with not much you can do something. Bebo, with not much you can do something. Even Asin, you can do something. But I think the problem is there's certain actresses he has no chemistry with, like Jacqueline Fernandez, right? Or
it's basically all the women who were in diapers when he made his debut, or who were not yet born when he made his debut.
Yeah, definitely. Like with Daisy, he has no chemistry whatsoever. And it really looks like a brother-sister relationship more than anything. I think even Anushka did great in Sultan, so I don't agree that the idea that there's nothing to do in Salman movies. But I just don't think these pairings work necessarily. What did you pick, Amrita, for that one?
I said Fatima Sana Sheikh for Aamir. And I said Disha Patni for Salman.
Oh, yeah, those are good picks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't disagree with that. I think those are really good picks. Sujoy, what did you pick?
I think I said like most of the Salman movies except for Katrina with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I picked Salman and Sai Manjrekar because I'm the only one that saw the horror of the Bang 3. And it's really, really bad. Like, oh my God, man. Like, not even diapers, man. She was like, not even a sperm cell. That one Salman was born. Like, it's horrible. It looks so bad, the pairing. And I wonder why she even I mean, I guess there's this some sort of logic that you get like a big platform for a lot of people to see your work. But I don't know why you would pick this for your launch. And I mean, she basically gets fridged in this movie anyway. The female protagonist gets killed just to serve as a motivation for revenge for the male protagonist. But in this movie, even her death is completely inconsequential. Like everybody just forgets about this person that was apparently Chulbul Pandey's first love. And apparently the cousin of Sonakshi Sinha's character. And we've had 2 movies and nobody's even talked about somebody who died in this horrific manner. It's a weird way to make a movie. It's a weird way to make a prequel. And it doesn't help the launch of this actress, which, you hope everybody has a good career. And this was not a good career move whatsoever. It's really, really terrible.
Yeah, so thinking of what Salman is doing in Dabangg 3, right? It kind of reminds me of, when South Indian actors in the 80s, when they were like really, really old. I think there is a Kannada actor called Rajkumar, and he was still doing like romantic movies with Jayaprada and all that. It just kind of feels so creepy, like when your facial skin is almost as loose and hanging down your chin, and then you're still romancing with girls that are decades younger than you. It's
who was Rajnikant's co-star in Darbar?
Oh, can't remember her name. Let me check.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do acknowledge the age difference in that movie.
Okay. So they do the same in Dabangg 3. I don't think it justifies anything still. It's and it's just funny that we've accepted that Sonakshi Sinha is age appropriate with Salman, right? Which he's also not, right? It's ridiculous.
So sad.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. It's bad. Let's move.
So the co-star of Rajnikant in Darbar was Nayanthara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Moving on.
Let's move on. What was the most shameless pandering the Khans did in the last decade? We had a few picks here. We had Salman with Modi. We had Salman's comment during the Sultan wrestling practices. Salman's ego. And somebody picked what I picked, which is all of the Bang 3 is shameless pandering, and it's the worst possible way to do this, to make a movie. I hate them for it. I hate this movie so much I cannot even mention. What else? They picked Aamir pretending to care about Me Too for a year. That's hilarious. Don't necessarily agree, but that is hilarious. And somebody also picked Jab Harry Met Sejal. Oh, that movie was so bad, huh? Did you guys watch Jab Harry Met Sejal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a waste. Like, what are these guys doing? Like, if they should have been wanting to work with Shahrukh for like decades, no? And this is then the turd he delivers. It's so bad.
Hello, top podcast, top friends. It's Beth from Beth Loves Bollywood. And I would like to nominate for Most Underrated Khan Effort the 2010s filmography of Shahrukh Khan, because I feel that he took a lot of big swings in the last decade. A lot of them missed really badly. But I think that he needs to be recognized for how many different things he did, especially compared to his contemporaries who basically did the same things that they more or less always do, or at least establish themselves as doing in the last decade. And while I wouldn't at all say I like a lot of these movies, I like that he tried. I like that he was challenging himself. And I like that he didn't just rest.
What did you guys pick on this one? Amrita, what did you pick?
I couldn't, I wasn't sure, like, if you meant, like, in a movie or, like, off-screen.
Either or.
Okay. But I wasn't really sure. Like, I felt like off-screen was more than, like, on-screen. Because they don't really do... Like, all their movies are fan service anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's how Bollywood works.
But what really went over the line, like completely threw us all over the edge? And I think my pick is Dilwale, and I didn't even watch the movie, and I don't want to watch the movie because it just felt like it was going to be what Rohit Shetty feels the SRK persona is.
You're not wrong.
It's so bad, that movie too. It's terrible.
Yeah. And it pretty much ruined Shahrukh and Kajol for me also. It's just...
Yeah. It took me 4 tries to finish that movie. I keep quitting and then coming back to it because I like everybody involved in it. Like, I like Varun, I like Kriti Sanon, I like Kajol, Shahrukh, and the songs were better than Chennai Express, but I didn't like it at all. I think also, I was thinking a lot of people would say Salman taking off his shirt, but it seems nobody voted for that, so it doesn't look like we're bored of that yet. So
I mean, I don't think it's that we aren't bored of it. It's just that if Salman didn't take off his shirt at this point, we'd be like, is Bhai okay?
Is he okay?
Bhai ko sardi hai kya? Like, what is it?
But Bhai also gets to take off his shirt and show us his pot belly in Sultan. So that's a new twist to it.
Yeah. Plus now he's also forcing other people to take off their shirt, and we got to see the Bobby Deol's nipples. Yeah, which made our podcast. I think a lot of people still tune in so we can talk about Bobby Deol's nipples like we did in the Race 3. So yeah. What was the most outdated trope used in the Khan? I think this is kind of like close to the one that we just did. Item songs is a vote that came. Bhai, all of Bhai is a cliche. I like this one. Girls fall in love with after being stalked, harassed, insulted by the hero. This happened apparently in Dabang and in Happy New Year. Did it? Dabang? I'm not sure if it... Okay. Yeah, people have feelings, man. What can I say? 6-packs, abs, yeah.
I think Salman should stop dancing. Like, that is what... I think that should be his goal for like this new decade. Like, stop dancing. Because he doesn't want to do it. Nobody wants to see him do it. Like, we can just stop. We can all agree.
I sent you that clip of the 30-year recap of Salman Khan dancing to all his signature moves. And he has not danced so much in a very, very long time.
Like his expression was like, "Bhancho, you invited me here to work out."
मैंने अपने फिल्मों में इतना ही नाचा.
Yeah. Shahrukh still pulls it off though. Shahrukh can still do it. Like, look at Fan,
Yeah.
Aamir.
But I also think like Shahrukh should stop mining himself so much. Like it was fun like the first half of this decade, but then like it's like he's stuck referring to his stardom. Like he does a really good job of it with Fan, and I think that's where it should end. Like he's said everything that he needs to say for like at least 10 years.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if we will discuss this, but for the new decade, the Khans need to really go back to the drawing board and make some strategy about how things are going to be, because they are much older, and their whole on-screen persona is not the same anymore. Like if Dabangg 3 can fail, then so can anything else.
I wanna do that at the end as like a summary of the decade. Sujoy, what did you have here?
Oh, I had nothing to pick from this. Like Dilwale 3, maybe it's still the for similar reasons, I guess.
Yeah. I just had Salman with underage women, which looks terrible now, and I think Salman really needs to change something about that for sure for me, because it's getting ridiculous now. Shahrukh is at least doing something different, and also he still has movies with Kajal and stuff like that. I mean, all three across the board can improve, but Salman is definitely the worst, and he's doubling down, with Dabangg 3. So for me, that's probably the worst part of it. And next movie is coming out with Disha Patni, so clearly he's not learned his lessons there. Best soundtrack?
Yeah, we haven't done that.
What did you guys pick? Sujoy, what did you pick here?
I think, looking at the decade, I think A.R. Rahman was composed only one soundtrack for the Khans, and that was Jab Tak Hai Jaan, and that was a very okay soundtrack for me. My pick would be My Name is Khan, because it's got like 3 absolutely stellar songs, and it's an anomaly at this stage when songs from a single soundtrack can be so great. I mean, Jab Tak Hai, Jab Harry Met Sejal is also one of my picks. And Delhi Belly also has a great soundtrack by Ram Sampath. But My Name is Khan with Sajda, Tere Naina and Noor Khuda, amazing.
Amrita?
So I had Rawan, and I had Telash. No, Rawan has like really good songs. You should go back and like revisit that album.
Agree.
It's like really good one thing.
Yeah.
And Telash.
With that booty goes pop pop pop. She's screaming now.
Well, it can't all be classical tracks to joy.
No, just say.
Also, Telash, which is like we don't get to hear a lot of jazz in Hindi, and so I love that soundtrack. I really do.
Yeah.
And for Salman, this decade is actually, it belongs to Salman musically. Like there's so many Salman movies with amazing songs. But the weird thing is, like, most of them, there's like 1 or 2 songs that will be like amazing, and then there'll be like 3-4 songs that are like, okay, who cares? So I was like trying to think of like an album that has like more songs than I don't care. Like
I think Salman is probably the only one in which his movies are collaborating with Rahat Fateh Ali Khan and Atif Aslam. Nobody else is bringing those, and
So my choice was Prem Ratan Dhan Payo.
Are you serious?
So I chose that for Salman because there's at least like 3 songs in it that I actually like, and also like Payo is like earworm, and now as soon as you say Prem Ratan then Payo, like you all have
Payo.
Like it won't get out of your
I know.
next year. So so I'm gonna say Prem Rathit, then Payo.
I did not
Payo.
see that coming, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't see Ravan coming either, so that's why my wow was. I picked. I also picked Jab Tak Hai Jaan, but I feel, Amrita, you're correct. It should be Talash. I think that is the better soundtrack for me. And yeah, props to Salman, man. He's done the first Dabang has great songs in it. I mean, let's not forget the phenomenon that Munni Badnaam Hui is, right? Like it was
also Tere Mast Mast Do Nain.
Yeah. And even in Dil Diya Galna, like it just came out like 2 years ago, but it's still like a track that it's still very popular and it still works. And Salman.
People don't forget Mashallah from Ekta Tiger.
Mashallah, yeah. So Salman, I agree with your assessment. I think Salman has had quite a few good songs in different soundtracks, but it's not been like a whole soundtrack that's been good, I guess. I think Talash and Jab Tak Hai Jaan might be the ones.
I would rate Harry Met Sejal above even Talash, though. But anyway, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, the thing with Jab Tak Hai Jaan is even mediocre A.R. Rahman is better than most. So like it's still really good. Okay, let's move on to Best Director. Should we have like a theme music, like dun dun dun, like trumpets and stuff like that? What did I pick here? I picked two actually. I picked because actually in a way they're quite similar, and I think it's something that Amrita had already raised. It's Ali Abbas Zafar and Kabir Khan. I think because it has been Salman's decade, it's been because of these two directors kind of reshuffling his image, but playing in the playground of Salman, playing to his strength, but just giving him slightly little bit more to do, and also just pushing him into something that he mostly doesn't want to do. And I think it gave mostly good. It mostly gave us good movies. I mean, you have the Tube Light, you have the Bharats in there, but otherwise it's been pretty good. And I think they are very talented, and also they can handle the budget, the largeness of Salman. And I think that requires a bit of skill that probably. For example, Prabhu Deva does not have, or even at this moment, Suraj Bharjatia doesn't have. Remo D'Souza definitely doesn't have. So it's those two are the ones for me. What about you guys? What about you, Amrita?
So I chose one for each Khan, obviously, but I chose them based on the same criteria, which is that they took the Khan in question and then they made that person do something that they're really good at, but you don't get to see a lot of it. Like they tapped into something in that particular actor that not many people do. So that's the same thing, I think. So for Shahrukh, I chose Gauri Shinde because it was a small role, but in Dear Zindagi, like she did like a really good job.
Yeah.
And he feels like really realistic in that film, like he feels real. He doesn't feel like Shah Rukh Khan the superstar. He feels like Shah Rukh, like he's human. So I really liked him in that. And then, so I chose Gauri Shinde for that. And then I chose Kabir Khan for the same reasons that you did for Salman. Because I think I think even before Ali Abbas Zafar, it was Kabir who really worked on Salman and brought him out. And then for Aamir, I chose, listen, you put him on the list. So I'm going to say Zoya Akhtar because she just took Aamir out of the movie, but kept his in there. So, well done to Zoya. She did very well done. So it allowed Aamir to play wise this wise man who's like commenting on everything. And then you just have to look at it. Well done.
Yeah.
I feel we're definitely out of the box.
No. Listen, I'm not the one that put that film on the list. It was Asim. Like, please direct all comments to Asim Bernie. Thank you.
I am the biggest Aamir fan, right? Although we've not talked about Aamir at all, in any way, shape, or form in this best of, which is weird, right? Like, I mean, like Dangal is legit a good movie. PK makes me cry at certain moments. It's so good. But I don't know. We're not talking too much about his movies. I think they've just all been like accepted as good movies, and then we just move on with it. I don't know.
Hi, Asim, Amrita, and Sujoy. This is Aparita from Khabardaar Podcast, a Hindi language podcast on Bollywood films, जहाँ पे मैं और मेरी co-host बैसाखी हिंदी सिनेमा पे अपनी फीलिंग्स बहुत ही फीलिंग्स के साथ पेश करती हैं. आशा है आपके श्रोता हमें भी एक मौका देंगे. But coming to your podcast, which is why I'm talking right now, you had reached out to me with regards to your best of the Khans decade. Now, I have to say that out of all the three Khans, Aamir Khan is the one that I can tolerate the most. Sorry, Amrita. Shahrukh Khan, I cannot stand him. And Baisakhi और मैं इस पे regularly झगड़ते हमारी तू मैं होती है. And Salman Khan, well, भाईजान के बारे में जितना कम, the less that we say, the better. So, coming to Aamir Khan, I think one of his underrated performances is in this movie called Dhobi Ghat, which came to the Toronto International Film Festival. I saw it there, and I'm not sure how the film did commercially, in fact, outside the festival circuit. But I remember when it came out, we were talking about this movement in Hindi cinema called Hindi cinema, like Hindi and indie cinema, and quieter films coming out of the Hindi film industry. And Dhobi Ghat certainly was a quiet film, and Aamir Khan plays this brooding artist, and maybe it's because it's a role that perhaps is kind of close to his real life. I'm not sure, don't know him personally, but there was something about this movie that stayed with me long after the credits rolled. And I remember talking to Kiran Rao about the film at the festival, and she talked about how this movie came out of her own kind of diary jottings about the city in which she was initially an immigrant. And perhaps that was something, being a not so recent immigrant to Canada myself, perhaps that also on some level spoke to me. So go check out Dhobi Ghat.
It's weird.
What I say about Aamir all the time, but nobody believes me. Anyway,
I didn't.
Sujoy.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Forgot about Sujoy.
Isn't that the story of my life?
Best director.
Are you guys waiting for me to say?
Yeah, best director.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have anything more to add. I mean, I agree with you guys. Like Kabir Khan did what, by playing to the strengths of Salman, and Ali Abbas Zafar took it to the next level with Sultan. But I also want to mention Abhinav Kashyap for making Dabangg. It's like such a genre-specific movie, and he took it to the next level, which Arbaz Khan and Prabhudeva have failed to recreate that.
And he disappeared, man.
Yeah, he made Besharam, which did not work with Ranbir.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't know. I don't know how the film industry works when people don't get along with the director, I guess. But but for what it is, the product that Dabangg remains even in this new decade. Dabangg is a very, very rewatchable movie, and at one time it was the official movie for Colors. Like if they had a time slot to fill, Dabangg was playing, and it's amazing, that movie.
Yeah, and I think also if we can all agree that this was Salman's decade, then Dabangg was the one that kicked off that decade, right? So, no, that's a good one. That's a good one for sure. I didn't get to ask this to our in our poll because there were only a limited number of questions, so I don't know what the audience would have picked here. The second one is the other one also I couldn't ask, and is best special appearance by the Khan in another movie that wasn't theirs. Shall I go first, because it's going to be probably the one most out of the box? Is Salman Khan playing the voice of Ganesh in Main Tera Hero.
Oh dear.
It is hilarious. It is like, first of all, shout out to Main Tera Hero, because nobody talks about that movie as they should, but it is like the perfect amalgamation of Varun channeling Govinda and Salman together. And just because he's playing such a naughty character, Varun, the exasperation that Salman Khan has playing the god that Varun is justifying all of his behavior to. And he's like, okay, maine kaha tha. Cracks me up every time. I think it's the best one out of all of them. But the second shout out I also have to give is Shahrukh in Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, because it's just oozing Shahrukhness, and it is so cool. And so those are my two picks there. Sujoy, man, what did you pick here on this one?
I think the one that stands out for me still when I watch this song is something, and it's in Tismar Khan when Salman makes his entry in Walla Re Walla.
Walla Re Walla. Yeah, it's so good.
It's like Dabang Wale Salman Bhai. It's just so good. So good. Yeah, I cannot. Yeah, it's so good. It's and it's that moment where Salman and Katrina also came back on screen for the first time after their breakup, and me as a fan was looking at a hawk, like every minute like expression they were giving to each other, and they were very... I've seen the making video, man, and everybody gives a hug, and then Salman departs like very awkwardly. It's so much film history there.
Yeah, it was a moment. And Tismar Khan also a vastly underrated movie. People did not get that one. I absolutely adore that movie, and I think Katrina is so funny in that movie. Good pick, man. That's a good pick. Amrita?
I think Ae Dil Hai Mushkil for me also. Like at first I was like luck by chance, but then that's 2009. So yeah.
You only had one? You didn't have one for every three of them?
No, because Aamir doesn't do it, right? Like Aamir is too big a actor to like show up in other people's work.
Yeah.
And then
he did Dilli Belly. He did Disco Dancer in Dilli Belly. I think.
But that was his own production, so obviously he showed up. You know, and then Salman, but Salman and Shahrukh keep like cross-pollinating each other's movies, and I don't know what the point is. I've never been delighted to see Salman in a Shahrukh movie or Shahrukh in a Salman movie, so I don't really understand what that is about. I think it's just about them. Like that's how they maintain their friendliness, but.
Either both Zero and Tube Light, their appearances did not work for me at all.
Hi, it's Hani from the Bollywood Project. The category / nomination that I chose was special appearance. And I think this is going to be a little bit unexpected / an unconventional choice, simply because I just don't think this appearance is talked about as often. But it's Aamir Khan playing the role of Pluto Mehra in Dil Dhadakne Do, which I believe came out in 2015. And the larger movie itself has a very big cast featuring like Ranveer, Priyanka, Anil Kapoor, with many others. But the role that Aamir had was of the family's dog, and he also was the narrator of the movie. And I just don't think that this role has ever really been publicly acknowledged as much. And I chose it just because I really enjoyed the narration and the tone and the way that Aamir voiced this persona of the dog that he had, because it was coming from the perspective of a family pet that had complete insight as to each character's family function and their role within the family. And I just think he did it really, really well. And also, it's not something that you expect Aamir to really take on, like the persona of an animal or the role of an animal. And we don't see him really... Well, we don't see Aamir at all in the movie. It's just the voiceover. So I just kind of wanted to go with something unexpected and underrated. And personally, that's one of my favorite movies. And I just like the way that it was done. So yeah, Aamir Khan's special appearance in Dil Dhadakne Do was my favorite Khan special appearance of the decade.
Final one, and also just kind of like, what do you guys think about this decade as a summary for the Khans? Like, I think, Sujoy, you were mentioning a few things, how they need to kind of, break out of their molds and things like that. But we also didn't talk too much about Aamir. I think he, box office wise, he won this one without even like anybody coming close to him, right? Especially tapping into this China market that he did. But he has a major flop with the Thugs of Hindustan, which I think a lot of people were like, it almost like shocked us in a way that this can still happen. I think for a lot of people, Aamir was just like, he's just gonna coast on this success. He's just gonna, and I think for a lot of people, it's like really shaken them to the core, even more than maybe Rais and Fans flop, I feel. And
But at the same time, do you question Thugs to be a failure for Aamir Khan or for Yash Raj?
But I also don't think it was a complete failure, like money-wise. I'm sure that they recouped their investment on it. Like, the way they, they sell it and the way I'm sure the maths of it they didn't lose money or it didn't flop, I think. But yeah, I think Yash Raj generally has... it's a weird position they're in, right? Like, because they have a studio head, that Aditya Chopra, who is not there, it seems that the studio almost has no identity now. And I think that's kind of going to be a struggle for them. I don't know where Yash Raj is in a way standing. It feels their movies they've not done any work with Shahrukh, have they, in the last year? The last one was Jab Tak Hai Jaan, as much as I remember, right? Yeah, they've not worked with Shahrukh, which is weird for them. Salman has been doing good work for them. He did Sultan, he did the Tiger trilogy with them. All of those worked with them. And with Aamir, they don't have a connect necessarily, right? So if you don't have the Khans on your team, what do you have then, right? So,
the last Shah Rukh Khan movie that Yash Raj did was Fan.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. And which was a flop.
Yeah.
Oh, not a flop, but I don't know. It didn't.
It wasn't the big success that they were hoping for.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's tough, and the same thing with Dharma, I would say, right?
So the next movies that are coming out from Yash Raj in 2020 are Shamshera, which is directed by Karan Malhotra, who made Agnipath, and it has Sanjay Dutt and Ranbir Kapoor, and Prithvi Raj, which has Akshay Kumar, directed by Chandra Prakash Dwivedi, who made Chanakya for TV. So I don't see any Shah Rukh or any other Khans on Team Yash Raj.
I think this was definitely Salman's decade. But also I think that's weird because like you said, like, how come we never talk about Aamir? Like, Aamir made the most money, but somehow, like, it still feels like... I think maybe it's because, like, Aamir made most of his money in the Chinese market, and we are just like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Chinese people, but
Why aren't they listening to our podcast though?
Yeah. I know.
People in China.
Get us that Chinese audience, man.
We need to push it in like Weibo or something.
Yeah. Actually, if there are Chinese Bollywood fans, I would love to have a chat with them. So we could get if there's any Bollywood Chinese blogger, drop us a line at youpodcasting.com. I would love to have you on as a guest and talk about an Aamir movie. That could be actually really, really fun. Yeah. And it's not that, these Aamir's movies weren't successful outside of China, right? They were massive, massive hits in India too. But they never have that fan craze, I guess, right?
But I think the point of discussing Salman or Shahrukh movies is because we discuss why they were as big a success or why they weren't a big success. With Aamir movies, is they were a big success, and that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have fans. That's what I can tell you. Like, everybody's like, wow, Aamir ne kya film banai hai, boss? And then like that.
वाह क्या एक्टिंग कर रहा है
वाह क्या acting hai.
वाह क्या टाइगर है.
Basically that's what it is. And then people get angry at me and like, no, I'm a big Aamir fan, and I'm like, yeah, tell me like 5 things you did, and they're just like, what? I don't know. But yeah, like apart from that, like
I think also what the thing, I think with Aamir is also the problem is that Thugs of Hindustan flopped, and the next one he's working on is this Forrest Gump remake. And I think we're all kind of like bracing ourselves for what that's going to be, right? I think it's called Lal Singh Chadda, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think...
I've been calling it Lal Singh Chaddi for
Of course. Hashtag on brand Amrita.
Like, why wouldn't they see that coming? Anyway, go on.
So, yeah, I think we're all kind of bracing ourselves. I think it's going to be a good movie, but I think just the idea of remaking Forrest Gump is, just worrying for a lot of people, I think. So I think that's kind of like the last one flopped, and the next one is not really eliciting excitement. The other thing they also mentioned was that they were making this remake of, I think it's, if I'm not, is it called Vadachinai? I'm not sure. No, it's something else. It's a remake of a South Indian movie with Saif and Aamir Khan. And it was originally with, I think, Madhavan. Do you know about this one?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna Google the name while you guys talk, and I'll let you know what it was. Sujoy, what do you think? What are you looking forward for the next decade for the Khans, basically?
I really want to see where Shahrukh goes from here, because he is. Mm-hmm. I think he's been the most experimental in terms of content, what he's been trying to form his image in the last decade. Most of them have not really worked in his favor. And also he's been building his company, Red Chillies, as this big special effects company, and probably one of the biggest ones in the country, and also one of the companies that brings outsourced special effects work from abroad. And I want to see where his strategy works, because I out of the 3 Khans, I think he's the smartest, and that comes through in his conversations, in film interviews or interviews that he does generally near the promotion time of his movie. But I want to see that translate into how his strategy. He's been silent since quite a long time. What was the last release that he made? Can't even remember.
Shahrukh?
Zero. Oh yeah, Zero. So that didn't work, and he's been silent since. And I want to see what all this silence transpires to.
I think if like Shahrukh starts playing his age, he'd be a stunningly effective actor.
Yeah.
Like in Dear Zindagi and stuff, like he was so good when he's like being like that age and he's not trying to do silly things like in Dilwale. Like I'd love to see him do things like that. And then Aamir, like I hope he makes more movies.
Yeah, I do think he needs to maybe make more movies. I think that could probably be a good thing for Aamir. So the movie I was trying to remember is called Vikram Vedha. It was originally with Vijay Sethupathi and Madhavan, which I've still not watched a copy of. I really want to watch that movie. If I can find it somewhere, I worry more about Salman at this moment. It keeps me up at night, what's going to happen with Salman. I think this decade has been very much his decade, and I think his following slate of movies are very, very, very worrying. He announced one with Farhad Samji, I think his name is, the guy that did Houseful 4, and he was a writer for a few Akshay movies. So Salman wants to do some kind of comedy in the vein of Reddy. He also has a few Prabhudeva movies coming out. And this action persona will not, physically he just can't handle it, right? Like there's going to be a point where he cannot physically get a six-pack anymore. He cannot dance, that we've established already. And also in the format of those kind of movies, you need to have you don't need to, but because the role is so insignificant, no talented actress wants to take on that role. So that is going to peter out for him in a way. And it's worrying the next few movies that it's not going to work. But I feel Salman has always worked best when either he's the underdog or he's working with filmmakers that don't want to placate to his whatever he wants to do. So I think this 10 years of success has been good, but I think maybe a few years of humbling would be good for Salman to kind of, really change up, because I think the next few years is going to be some terrible movies coming out, and I think it's already started. So that for him, Aamir, I agree. I think hopefully he can just do more movies. I've always wished this for him. I think, so for example, in our poll, we had 13 movies with Shahrukh. We had 17 movies with Salman, and we had 9, but no, 1, 2. Yeah. We had 7 movies with Aamir, basically. And that still includes Secret Superstar, where he basically had a 20-minute role in. So it's basically 6 movies in a decade, which is really, really low, right? Like, that's not a lot at all.
But that's compensated by the double role in Doom 3.
Yeah. Doom 3 sab pe bhari. I think nothing has been confirmed for Shahrukh, but the rumors that the things he's going to be working on sound interesting. I heard something that he might be working with Rajan DK, which might be really, really cool. He was rumored to be working with Atlee, I watched Bijil, and I'm so glad he's not working with Atlee. So that's good. So positive things are coming there. I think we can basically just wrap it up with what for you guys was the best movie of the last decade. I don't think we did this one, right?
Yeah.
So I think we'll probably all agree on this, because even the audience has been in agreement on this. It's my favorite pick of the decade. It's Bajrangi Bhaijaan.
Ashanti Omkar here from the BBC Asian Network with my best movie for the Khans, for the Khandaan podcast. Now, this one for me kind of was tough, and it wasn't tough, because having watched pretty much all the movies all the Khans did during the last decade gone by, there was one film that just stuck out to me that will forever probably remain in my consciousness as one of the best, and that was Bajrangi Bhaijaan. It was absolutely fabulous as a film. It ticked all the boxes. 2015 was the year. Salman Khan, Kareena Kapoor as a Khan, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, that beautiful little girl in this film that just completely blew our minds. This was an excellent kind of story screenplay. K.V. Vijayendra Prasad, now he is the father of S.S. Rajamouli, the legendary director who made Bahubali. And Vijayendra Prasad had his hand in the story and the screenplay for this film. And it showed, it really did, because he is very good at making, these kind of creations. He's very good at getting seamless storylines to kind of fit together and translate really well on the big screen. And that's what it was. Bajrangi Bhaijaan had everything I wanted in a film, the message, the visuals, it was all there. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to Aamir Khan. I know slightly biased because I happen to work with him on some of these films, but, he took the big chances in the decade. His production house, with a film like Lagan, which was, a long time ago for us now, no studio producer would pick it up. So he thought, let my production company pick this film up. And since then, he's done films like Peeply Live, Dobby Delhi Belly, and they made a huge shift in the mainstream seeing Indian independent film in a new light, because I was a part of that. I was a part of talking to the mainstream journalists and saying, here are the sort of films that India can create. Now, he put his money behind Talash with Excel Entertainment, and that made $1 million in the UK. I happened to work on that one as well. And for me, backing female directors, he worked with, Kiran Rao. He said, yes, I'll give you my time, and I also give you my money to create a film like Dobby Ghat, which was a huge hit at London Film Festival. He supported Rima Kaggi, obviously. He supported Anusha Rizvi on Peeply Live, and he actually put himself forward as the man who was positioning Peeply Live, which didn't have any stars but had a brilliant storyline. And for me, the most important film I think he put his money behind was Secret Superstar, and he put his time behind it too by acting in a really strange role. Now, as a producer, putting a mainstream spotlight on domestic violence, very close to my heart, this subject was very important. And that was kind of post Dangal, which was based on a real life story. And Dangal for me had that whiplash effect. Where does the ambition of a parent for their kids to succeed come over their mental health and how you get there? And this is something that I felt that Dangal did explore in a big way. Of course, the girls went on to be successful, but were they happy doing it? These were all questions that went on in my mind. And of course, with the PK, he pushed boundaries again in 2014. So Aamir did a fantastic job with all of that. With Shahrukh Khan, it was an odd decade. I have to say that, when that started off with My Name is Khan, we thought, yes, this man is going to do lots of big things. It was a huge blockbuster, and it ended literally with 0, which a lot of people didn't like at all. For me, Jab Tak Hai Jaan, Fan, Rise, with Mahira Khan, who's a brilliant Pakistani actress, and having her come into this big Bollywood film was very impressive to me. That film itself, I really loved. And I do feel that Shahrukh took chances and risks with his career, and I'm happy he did it because, look, he doesn't need the money. He's got enough endorsement deals. He's got enough money. So it's about, what do you do next? Do you want to keep repeating those roles, or do you want to do something afterwards? Are producers putting pressure on you to repeat those roles, which he did in a few of these films? But then, he did a film like Raw 1, massive premiere at the O2 in London. It was very ahead of its time. And, this was his production house coming into play. And, that film, Raw 1, took over 200 crores globally. So it wasn't by any means a flop in that sense. But it was a film that a lot of critics didn't like, and a lot of people couldn't get behind. But I'm happy that he made it. And also, the other thing that was a highlight for me in the decade was that Shahrukh really made his attempt to cross over and make his films feel very pan-Indian. So a film like Fan, he had 11 languages for Jabra Fan, the song, including Sinhalese in Sri Lanka. And, he has loved to do that. He has loved to be very passionate about many people seeing his film. And I remember talking to him extensively during Chennai Express. And just before Chennai Express, it was just after Jab Tak Hai Jaan had been shot and the film was coming out. And I had this long conversation with him, and he was talking about Chennai Express and saying how he just loved that idea because he has South Indian roots. And since then, obviously, we've seen a lot of those crossover films like Bahubali, which are doing big things. And historically in Bollywood, this has been a thing. It has been a long-standing tradition of films that have crossed over, films like Sadma, for example, from back in the day. So this is not something that didn't happen, even going further back from Sadma, but it's something that hasn't been happening as much. So you don't really see a Talash also being dubbed into Tamil or Telugu, but now nearly all these films are getting these dubs so that regional audiences can watch them. So this is something that I feel that Shahrukh Khan really championed as a trend in the last decade. Thank you so much for having me on the Khandaan podcast. Hope to see you all soon.
Same for me.
Yeah, same for you. It's such an effective movie more than anything. It has such a positive message. It has what we want from Salman, pushing up against, the established image he has. He doesn't take off his shirt. He doesn't get beaten. He mostly gets beaten up, except for one amazing scene. Which it still touches me, and I think we did a whole podcast about it. So you can kind of go revisit it. Sujoy, did you have another pick maybe? Then,
I pick Dangal.
Dangal, which was the second pick that people picked, and I think it's a justified pick, right? We've not reviewed Dangal, have we, yet on the podcast, right?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so why did you pick Dangal above Bajrangi Bhaijaan?
I think I don't know if I just feel like Dangal is a superiorly made movie, even though emotionally Bajrangi is much stronger and the sentiments there are much, it's from a completely craft perspective, I think Dangal is a superior movie in my sense. Like it's just a really brilliantly made movie, and it's got immense amount of rewatch value.
Yeah. Any honorable mentions? Any other movies that kind of stood out for you? I think somebody mentioned Jab Tak Hai Jaan for nostalgic purposes.
No, definitely not that.
I think PK just because it's a fairly brave thing to have done. It seems braver now in retrospect, but it was pretty brave even when it came out, I think.
Yeah, I can't imagine PK seeing the light of the day in an environment like today.
Oh, yeah. Like, it wouldn't be even made today. Like, nobody would even finance it.
Yeah. I think somebody mentioned Sultan, which I kind of still like Sultan more than Dangal, to be honest. Just as a rewatch kind of thing. I think PK is the other one. I really, really like PK. I think the only thing missing was maybe good songs in it. Like, I don't remember any song from PK, and I think that could have been something. That's another one of those Raju Hirani things, though, right? Like, there's no good soundtracks. There's like a Rohit Shetty movie doesn't have good songs. Raju Hirani doesn't have good songs either. So I think that's kind of what was missing here. I think that's it, right, for this episode. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ.
Sujoy?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at 9E3K.
Yeah. And I'm at Asim Bernie. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the format. It was kind of different. We didn't want to do a best of the year episode. I did go on the BBC, and I know that the link is still live if you want to hear my thoughts about the best of the year. The movies that came out, but my basic point was 2019 was garbage and there were no good movies. So I think we wanted to do kind of something different. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back to our regular scheduling from next episode onwards. You could drop us an email at viewpodcasting@gmail.com, and thanks so much for listening. Leave us a review if you get a chance. It helps us in the ratings and new people to find us. And that's it, guys. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a new episode.
Khandaan podcast on acting. Podcast.
Will your child be ready for kindergarten? At Chesterbrook Academy Preschool, the answer is yes. Our curriculum offers the perfect balance of learning and play. Our teachers personalize that experience for each child through engaging activities that develop the skills they need to be ready for what comes next. Attend a Chesterbrook Academy open house on Saturday, January 25th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. To find a preschool near you, click the banner or visit chesterbrookacademy.com. That's chesterbrookacademy.com.